On Sunday mornings, I say good morning, and they all say good morning, but it's nighttime, so we can't do that. Anyway, it's really good seeing you. I'd like to know how we get folks to come 10 minutes early to church on Sundays. Man, you guys are just filling this place up. That's awesome. I'm so excited about this evening. My name's Jeff Noble. I'm the senior pastor here at Praise Baptist Church. We want to welcome you. As the pastor, I do have to ask you to do me a little favor. This is kind of a big deal. We've got two wonderful guys here. Of course, Miss Arnay, who's going to be leading this whole thing. She's the one that's in charge. I'm going to ask you, as the community, one of the things I've been bothered by is just all of the headbutting and frustration and anger and all the things that I see. And I just like to set all that aside tonight. Can we just kind of put that aside and decide we're not going to holler out or we're not going to say anything ugly or anything like that? Thank you. Because as I assume a lot of you here are Republicans, and we're beating up on each other. We've got to quit doing that. That's why we decided to do this evening. Arnay asked if she could have it here in the church.
Thank you so much for providing us this opportunity. We have a lot of people here today, so I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I've been married to my wife, Jackie. It'll be 20 years in August. We've been together 24 years. She's sitting in the back. You may see her have to get up and go because she drives carpool during the week, shuttling our kids around. I have a daughter, Maddie, who's 12, loves to play soccer, and my son, Brady, who's just turned 10. He's double digits. He's pretty excited about that, and he loves to play baseball. And they're both getting run around tonight, so Jackie, thank you for coming. I know you're going to have to step out here pretty soon. Also, my mom and dad came this evening, so my mom's been knocking for me every day and working really hard, and took a break to come here. You know, it's fitting tonight that for me that we have this event in this facility, in this place of worship. You know, when we had our daughter nearly 13 years ago, Jackie and I didn't really go to church all that much before then, and started going to church after Maddie was born. I mean, that was really our calling, to go to church. But when you go to church, you try to figure out what your calling is and what your purpose is in life. And you know, for me, it was always right in front of me, right in front of my face. I was doing it all the time, and it was public service. And going to church helped me see that and see that I'm fulfilling what my calling is and my belief and what God chose me to do, and that's helping people, helping our community grow, and helping people succeed in what they try to do. Now, 1 year ago, I was appointed as Township Supervisor, and what a total honor it was to take the reins of our community over from former Supervisor Richard Rayum. And back in March, I had the opportunity to give a State of the Community address recapping my first year as Township Supervisor. And if you don't mind, I'll kind of just give you a little recap of kind of where we were in the first year. We retained and remained to have the lowest tax rate in Wayne County at 4 mills, and the lowest water rate in Western Wayne County. Now, as homeowners, we all understand how that affects us, and how it affects our pocketbooks, what it allows us to do with our families, how it lets us go out and have maybe a little bit more dinner, improves and secures our property values. But as our Township Supervisor, I've seen firsthand what it means for economic development and how it helps us attract new businesses to our community. In fact, just last month we met with a Chinese company that's looking to move their headquarters from Ontario to Michigan, and they're looking at Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County. And if they come to Wayne County, they're going to come to Plymouth Township because we have the lowest taxes and the lowest water rates. It is a tool that helps bring companies to Plymouth Township, which also in return then helps us keep our taxes low for our residents. As a result, we once again earned the East City's 5-Star Economic Development Award last year, when we welcomed over 3,000 new jobs and $215 million of new investment into our community. Some examples of that is Federal Mogul. Federal Mogul was trying to decide between Southfield and Plymouth Township. They decided on Plymouth Township and invested $9 million in 150 new jobs. Bruglia invested nearly $20 million, and that was 70 new jobs. Troy Design Manufacturing, we just announced that last week, but that started coming in last year. That's going to fill the old Ford plant. That's 600 jobs now, with an additional 200 jobs on the way. Now, once again, Plymouth Township was named the second safest community in the state of Michigan. Every time I bring that up, people go, well, who's the safest? I go, does it really matter? We are the second safest, and we're doing a great job of keeping our community safe. And this past year, Chief Titterington and I worked on how we can improve our efforts to keep our community safe. And we were proud to announce the Homeowners Police Program, where we assigned a police officer to each homeowners association that attends the homeowners meetings on a regular basis, and they are a resource for the homeowner president and the residents of that homeowners association, where they can call that police officer and with any issue that's non-emergency related, and it's a total resource for the homeowners, and it's been welcomed with great reviews from the homeowners associations. Last year we saw home values increase by 5%. That's good news. One of the great news, one of the best silver linings of the 5% increase is, some of you may know, when the city of Plymouth walked away from the joint fire agreement, we had to lay off some firefighters, and we got a SAFER grant that allowed us to bring 6 firefighters back. With the increase in home values, we're going to be able to keep, and that SAFER grant, by the way, expires this month. But with the increase in home values, we're going to be able to keep those firefighters on staff, and we're not going to have to lay them off, and we're going to keep them around. That's great news for our community and keeping our community safe. We did park improvements out at Township Park and over at Soccer Park. We fixed the drainage at the soccer park. We actually have grass growing in places it's never grown before. The head of the Plymouth Rain boasts about how the fields are in better shape than they've been in a long time. We redid the pass, built the 4-season pavilion, expanded the parking lot, and welcomed in the new snow machine. And now I know the snow machine may have been welcomed with some controversy. I learned something really cool this year, that man-made snow does not melt as fast as natural snow. And it was the couple times, I know we had a mild winter, but the couple times that we were able to make snow, it was really cool watching kids go down a sled hill, having fun when it was 65 degrees out. They were a little wet at the bottom, but they really enjoyed themselves, and it's going to be a great asset for our families as we move forward in times to come. On senior citizens, we partnership with the City of Plymouth and the Council on Aging to enhance our senior services. Council on Aging moved their offices out of the City of Plymouth to Plymouth Township, where they have more room, and they moved transportation out of the ice arena out to Friendship Station. And today, I'm proud to announce we took Friendship Station, which was active for 3 nights a week, about 3 or 4 times a week playing cards. And the card players are a great asset to our community, but we've actually expanded that now, and we have programming every day from 8 to about 4:30 every day, where people can play bunco, bingo, line dancing, chair exercising, and can still play cards. It's a tremendous asset. We finally have a true community center that's growing. If you talk to Bobby Pummel, their participation in events has increased over 500 people a month. We look forward for us now as we move forward. We're partnering with the library to do projects with the library and the Plymouth Council on Arts to do art projects around the township. That'll be in Township Park and through Township Hall. Our budget, by the way, when we finish 2015, we're going to finish with about a $500,000 surplus. Our general government fund surplus is going to be, fund balance is going to be around $3.8 million. Now, when we passed the Board of Trustees, we passed our 2016 budget. It was the first time since the downturn in the economy that we passed a budget that had a projected surplus. Not that the board did not balance the budget every year, but we always had projections to reach into the rainy day fund. And then we never, actually the good news is we never had to, but this is the first year since the downturn in the economy that we did not have to reach into the, we don't project to have to reach into the rainy day fund, and we will have a surplus. Now, I'd be remiss if I stood up here and I didn't talk about my time as our Wayne County Commissioner and what I was able to do as our county commissioner. The Bob Ficano regime had racked up $175 million of debt, had a $50 million a year structural deficit, and collapsed the pension funding to 48%. Short time, in just 12 years, what he was able to do to the county. I'm proud to say we drafted a plan that fixed the $175 million of total debt, fixed the structural deficit, and was leading Wayne County to a recovery. Unfortunately, Bob Ficano didn't want to implement that plan. That's the bad news. The good news is he was replaced with Warren Evans, and I'm proud to say that Warren Evans is implementing that plan along with Commissioner Barone. The county is now turning the corner, and it has a projected surplus in years coming. We also worked on bringing money back for our roads. I promised when I ran, we were going to bring back money for roads. We brought back over $8 million into Plymouth Township for roads, whether it was the Beck Road Project, Lilly, Plymouth, Sheldon Road, or the Township Road Initiative. The Township Road Initiative is $1.5 million in our neighborhoods, fixing neighborhood roads. That's a great accomplishment. From the moment I got involved in government, there's always been this talk about getting suburban representation on our water rates, that we never had any representation from the suburbs and control over our water rates. I was proud to work with Jerry Poison, Bob Dado, and L. Brooks Patterson up in Oakland County to help create the Great Lakes Water Authority. Is it perfect? No, nothing's really perfect, and Judge Cox had to drag us along. But I'll tell you, we really got something special there, and we finally got a suburban voice. In conclusion, I'll say this. If you have a business, Plymouth Township's where you want to be. If you want to buy a home and have stable home values, Plymouth Township is where you want to be. If you want to start and raise a family, Plymouth Township is where you want to be. And as a Plymouth Township Supervisor, this is where I want to be. On August 2nd, I hope you'll vote to keep Plymouth Township moving forward and vote to keep me, Shannon Price, as your Plymouth Township Supervisor. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Arne, and thank you to Pastor Jeff Noble for hosting us here again this evening. I do appreciate all your support and your help in making tonight possible. And thank you to all of you for being here. It shows the level of concern and dedication that each of you have to the Plymouth Township community, and really to the broader Plymouth community as a whole. My name is Heise. I'm your state representative, and I've served in that position since 2011. With me tonight is my daughter, Katie, who is joining us tonight from college, and the rest of the family is either doing homework or getting ready for work tomorrow, so they couldn't be here today. But it's important that you finish up your homework before you do anything else. You know, folks, today, this is a job interview. This is a job interview, and you are the boss. You have to select between the two finalists for this position, the position of Township Supervisor. And what I believe you have to look at is the experience, the qualifications, the education, and the real-world experience that we need so desperately today in Township Hall. We need to make a clean break. I see many of you in the audience are Republicans, Democrats. Some of you were active in the recall movement. Some of you are here for the first time. I think you all agree that there's something wrong with our township, that despite the newsletters that we get and some of the rhetoric that we hear, we're on the wrong track. And it's time for a clean break. It's time for a new breed of individuals to help run our township, a professional team, an educated team with real-world experience. That's one of the reasons why I'm also supporting Mark Clinton for Township Treasurer, and why I'm supporting Jerry Vorva for Township Clerk, because we need a new team of professional elected officials running the day-to-day operations at Township Hall. So what are those qualifications? What makes Kurt Heise so special anyway? Well, let's go back to our beginnings. I was born and raised in the city of Dearborn, and I'm a graduate of Dearborn High, class of 1984. I went on to the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, where I received a BA in political science with distinction, graduated in 1988. Now, when you're a poli-sci major at the University of Michigan in the 1980s, that's when Reagan and Bush were president. We had a lot of things going on in this country and around the world. So it really helped to hone your senses, make you a better debater, make you think on your feet a lot faster, because I was kind of up against the establishment back then. And it was not always easy to stand your ground, fight for what you believe in, and articulate your beliefs. So I gained a great interest in politics, especially during the 1980s. Then I went to law school. Went to law school at Wayne State University, graduated in 1991. Now, I'm a weird guy, I have to admit, because most people, when they're out of law school, they never want to go back into that building. But I did it. I went back and I got a second law degree, a Master's of Labor Law, which very few people in the country really have. Now, why did I do that? Why did I subject myself to another few years of law school? It's because I wanted to be in the public sector. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be one of the good guys, somebody who would use their legal skills and their talents and their education for the public good. A lot of people go to law school because they want to make money. They see what was going on TV with LA Law and all the shows that were on in the 1980s and early 90s, and they wanted to emulate that. But I wanted to wear, the white hat. I wanted to be a good guy and help people in government and help them make better decisions. Now, I never thought, really, that it would be my name on the door someday. I always saw myself as sort of that person behind the scenes. So I started out as the assistant city attorney in the city of Dearborn Heights and the city of Woodhaven. I later became the mayor's deputy in Dearborn Heights. Now, I don't know if you know a lot about Dearborn Heights in the 1990s and early 2000s, but if there was a problem in local government, we had it. We had sewer problems, stormwater, transportation, roads, police, fire, union contract issues, everything under the sun. And what I did during that time, when you're a little bit of water. When you're a mayor's deputy in Dearborn Heights, that's a more than full-time job. You're not home very often. You're working hand in hand with the mayor. You're basically like the vice president of a 57,000 population community. And it's not an easy job. We were doing everything from getting cats out of trees to negotiating contracts to working in the federal court with former Judge Fikens on all the Detroit water and sewer issues impacting our communities. And I handled it all in conjunction with the mayor. I ended up learning a lot about the environment and about water issues, sewer, stormwater, air pollution, you name it. And that caught the attention of Bob Ficano. And I worked for Bob Ficano for 6.5 years. He hired me because I knew the issues about environmental policy and politics in Southeast Michigan. When I worked for Bob Ficano, I took a department called the Wayne County Department of Environment. It had 145 employees and a $140 million a year budget. That is 10 times as large in terms of budget as Plymouth Township. I took over that job in my early 30s, and we turned that department around. We were actually the only department that had a surplus during that time. And we were able to operate more efficiently. We executed agreements with our customer communities to cap water and sewer rates. And we also made sure that our wastewater treatment plant, which is the second largest in Michigan, operated at peak efficiency. It saved our customer communities upwards of $10 million just in the short time I was there. And during that time, we didn't skimp on water quality either. We gained 2 Gold Star awards from the Environmental Protection Agency. So during that time in Wayne County, we handled a variety of issues, including labor relations issues as well. I found myself again in federal court for many years as we worked to create a workable system for Detroit water and sewer. And I also worked in Lansing, helping to create bills on stormwater management, regional cooperation, the drain code, a bunch of other things. Maybe not the sexiest issues in the world, but areas where I was able to provide leadership and expertise in both Wayne County and in Lansing. One of the proudest things I did was serve on the Blue Ribbon Commission for Lake St. Clair, where we ended up developing a comprehensive environmental strategy, basically from Lake Huron all the way down to Monroe, which included real-time water quality monitoring. Now, of course, nowadays, everybody wants water monitoring, but we were doing it 10 years ago before it became, unfortunately, a crisis. My experiences in Lansing prepared me very well for the role of state representative. I served in that position from 2010 or 2011 to the current day. I've been elected every 2 years to state rep. My vote totals have gotten better as each year goes by. I think in Plymouth Township, my numbers last year were somewhere in the mid-60s. And I do appreciate and respect your support during that time. Walking into Michigan government 6 years ago was like walking into a burning building. Michigan was in serious trouble. We had financial challenges, we had a budget deficit, we had pension deficits, we had almost 15% unemployment. But we rolled up our sleeves and we worked together as a Republican caucus, working with Governor Snyder and my colleagues in the state Senate. And frankly, we've turned Michigan around. Our unemployment rate has gone from 15% down to under 5%. Our unemployment rate now in Michigan is actually less than the national average. We helped it save Detroit from bankruptcy, which I think benefits our entire region. But we also didn't lose sight of what was happening here at home. I've helped bring home millions of dollars of road money, much of it spent in Plymouth Township, but also in Canton. I'm also very proud of the work that we've done with Tohoku Prison. And that started out with Northville and Plymouth Township working together to redevelop 5 Mile. Now, 5 Mile Road isn't going to go into economic development as long as Tohoku Prison is there. Or the Robert Scott Prison. So in I think it was my first term, I introduced a law to take the Robert Scott Prison, tear it down, give it to Northville Township. We use those same principles to take DeHoco and transfer that to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Now, the MEDC, they're not in the prison business. They're in the economic development business. And so what they are doing is they've assisted in helping to tear that building down. They were able to find $4 million that was sitting in an old fund. I wrote a law and helped push that law through the legislature to get those buildings torn down. The RFP is on the street right now, and it should be addressed in the months ahead. So that's just a sampling of some of the accomplishments that I've done in local, county, and state government. I really want to go back to my roots. I want to go back to my roots in local government, where we need people with real-world experience in negotiating labor contracts and working with our colleagues on the township board, making sure that meetings are run properly, efficiently, and with no drama whatsoever. We can do this. We deserve better. And I believe that with the right team in Township Hall, we can make us proud again of Plymouth Township, proud of our neighbors in the city and in the region. And we can make our community a better place. I moved here 10 years ago because I love this community. I wasn't looking for a job. I really don't need a job right now. But I'm doing this because I love my community, I believe in it, and I think our best days are still ahead. I hope you'll join with me on August 2nd. Thank you.
Okay, well, you guys are great, and we have many more questions than we have time for, so let's get started.
Sorry.
Hey, gentlemen, what are your plans for the redevelopment of DeHoco?
Who goes first? All right. Pastor, move my microphone.
You got 2 minutes, right?
2 minutes.
2? Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
2 minutes. So for the DeHoco site? All right, there's 2 different DeHoco sites. Well, actually 3 now, but I'll go through pretty quick. Back when I was representing Northville, we talked about a smart zone, which incorporated the 5-mile corridor. And that's where the 5-mile corridor actually got its start. And it got risen, it kind of fell apart. When I was down on the county commission with Laura Cox, we revised the 5-mile corridor, which is now MITC, Michigan International Technology Center, and got Wayne County interested, and we started doing our quarterly meetings where the county was involved, along with the state, our state legislators, Representative Heise, Colbeck, MEDC, Detroit Edison, and ITC. We actually met on a monthly basis. Now we meet every other month. Representative Heise talked about a lot of things. The first and foremost is we got to do something with the prison property. And while he did introduce the legislation, it was really a team effort. I met with Governor Snyder's office, his chief of staff last year, Dennis Muchmore, and convinced Dennis Muchmore that we had to do something about the prison property that's on our side of 5 Mile that's contaminated. That property on the low end is $6 million to clean up, on the high end is $20 million to clean up. And it's been impacting economic development because, for example, Northville had a company called CW Bearing from China that wanted to come in. When they saw the guard tower and the barbed wire, they walked away. That's the bad news. The good news, Northville found another place for them. Long-term goal on the 5-mile corridor, though, is that we get the prison property down, we clean up that site on where the DeHoco prison property is. We reclassify 5 Mile Road, it's currently a Class B road, which means there's weight restrictions in the winter. We can't get heavy trucks to go up and down that road. And we start bringing in high-tech, advanced manufacturing jobs. The demand is there. They come all the time. I mentioned earlier the Chinese company that came and met with us. The demand is there. We just have to get the land ready and get the road ready. And that area will be ready to take off. It's something we work on a regular basis. Thank you.
Okay, DeHoco. As a state representative, I believe it was in my first term, I was invited to attend the meeting of what eventually became the Michigan International Trade Corridor, MITC, commonly known as the 5 Mile Project. The folks who came to me were both from Plymouth Township and Northville Township, to some extent Wayne County, but mostly what the townships were looking for was leadership from Lansing. They were looking for an ally, somebody who could go to bat for them, who understood the issues, and could help improve that corridor. I went to work right away on taking the former Robert Scott prison site and writing a law to sell that to Northville Township for $1. And they bought it for $1 and they tore it down for $1 because they hired Adamo to make all their money off of the scrap metal and other recycles from there. The second big objective for me was to take the DeHoco prison site. It's going to be a problem that's going to be with us for a long time, make no mistake. There are many buildings on that site. We have to make sure that they're all torn down. The $4 million that's reflected in my bill from a couple weeks ago is aimed at what I call the oldest and ugliest buildings along 5 Mile. Those are the ones that are really a deterrent to economic development. But the ones in the back and the environmental issues underneath are still going to be we still need to address. We also need to address the problem we now have with the city of Detroit as we move further west. Plymouth Township, in my opinion, has squandered $800,000 between the legal fees, the land purchase, and the tax reversions that we've had to pay on the failed DeHoco property to the west. This is a lawsuit that we have lost in the Main Circuit Court. We've lost it in the Court of Appeals. I was there. I attended the hearing. And we lost again recently in the Michigan Supreme Court. We need to reach out to the city of Detroit. We've got to lay down our swords, and we've got to reach out to Mayor Duggan and his people and the county and say, what can we do to partner with you to obtain the highest and best use of this land? Wayne County's they're not going to build an ice arena there. We need to work with them to make sure that that land can be sold for future economic development.
What is your position on park?
Sorry, can I just respond to that just a little bit? That's fine. I'll use my next answer to clean up. I'm sorry. I thought we were not going to have comments from the crowd.
Just a minute, folks.
What are the rules?
That's fine, Ms. Arnie. I'll use my time to correct the inaccuracies. Go ahead.
Could they be done at the 2-minute?
I'll use my time on the next question. Go ahead.
What is your position on park? And would you...
For those of you who don't know, PARC is the Plymouth Community Recreation Center. It's the old Central Middle School. Now, we are fortunate in our community. We have, let's be honest, we've got some people with a lot of money. And we've had some people step forward who took it upon themselves to buy that school from the school district and turn it into a regional arts and cultural resource. And let's let them do the job that they said that they were going to do. So far, from what I can see personally, from what I've learned from their staff, they're doing a phenomenal job of bringing people into the community, of providing arts and cultural activities for folks, and I would like to see them thrive and continue. I support PARC. I support Don Sonnen and the Malcolms and all the great people who are making that happen. So we shouldn't be out there criticizing them or throwing rocks at their operations, but rather encouraging them to make sure that they can expand and thrive. Now, that does lead to the talk of regional recreation. In that sense, I am certainly open to the idea of a joint recreation alliance or authority, whatever you want to call it, with the city of Plymouth. We are one community. We need to cooperate with each other. For so many years, seems like we've been at each other's throats on a variety of issues, especially recreation. It doesn't have to be that way. So let's use PARC as a model of what could be, but let's have a fair and open discussion about what the future looks like. And ultimately, let's let the voters decide. Thank you.
We'll save a lot of time. We can hold them. Applause to the end, please.
All right, so PARC, I've talked about this a lot. I spent more time on PARC than I did with Troy Design Manufacturing that came in. PARC is a great idea. Don Sonnen will tell you he's making money now, and things are productive. Where we start to have issues is whether or not we're going to raise taxes in order to build an 800-seat orchestra hall. We start to have issues on, do we have a business plan? Do we have a feasibility plan? See, it's really easy to say, oh, let the voters decide, but when you're supervisor and you run the township, we don't vote on whether or not to just let the voters decide. We have to vote on whether or not to create an authority. It would be an authority with the city of Plymouth. That's what we're being asked to do. We're not being asked to put it on the ballot. And the moment you create that authority, you surrender all of our rights. And it's the authority then that has the right to go to the ballot, decide how much they're going to tax and how much they're going to tax, and how they're going to spend that money. Now, we've learned recently, whether it's Prop 1, when you don't do your homework, the voters reject it, 80-20. Do we need an 800-seat theater? Kent has a 400-seat theater. They can't fill it. It loses $4 million a year. Dearborn has a 1,200-seat theater, loses money. We don't have a business plan. We don't have a feasibility study. We can't, it's proven upon your leaders to do your homework and make sure you understand what's being asked of you before you just run out and vote to create an authority and you don't know where it's going to go. Now, I'm going to go back to the HOCO in 1 second. It's not $800,000 lost. We still own the part east of the Johnson Creek, which we can recapture all of our money on. That property is estimated that has a value of $5 million. We're still negotiating with the county to get a settlement to get our money back on the other piece of property, where we're talking to the city of Detroit. It'd be very helpful, by the way, for us to negotiate and come to a solution if we didn't have our state representative trying to interfere and negotiate with the treasurer on our behalf. That's just kind of where we're at, and that's the truth. It's important to me. When I was at Wayne County, we started at Wayne County, our grade was a D- on transparency. We were one of the worst counties in the state. When I left Wayne County as our county commissioner, we had an A+ rating. We were the best county in the state. If you want to know where that compares, Oakland County is at a C. That's where we were in Wayne County. When I became township supervisor, we put all of our budgets online. We got a lot of information online. Can we do better? Yes, we can, and we will. We're currently redesigning our new website. The new website should be out this summer, where we're going to put in a lot more new information, along with BSNA, that's going to allow us to do it. As a township supervisor, I reinstated the homeowners association meetings, where we meet quarterly with the homeowners presidents and give them feedback on what's going on in the township and getting information back from them. I hold monthly office hours, something the previous supervisor didn't do, but I do. Transparency is very, very important to me, and making sure that we get the voice of the people. When I took over a year ago, there was a lot of calls that people didn't feel like they were being heard. I think I've gone a long way to do that, whether it's in the open office hours, homeowners meetings, or when we went to go replace trash haulers last year, we did a survey of all the residents to get an input on them on which way they wanted to go. We're making sure that voters are being heard, and we're taking in their thoughts and considerations. That continues when we talk about park improvements, and we're not going to add new park improvements until we finish our open space park and rec plan, where we do surveys and open forums, so we get the input from the public. So transparency is very, very important to me. It's something I practice every day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When I was at Wayne County, we also were very interested in transparency as well. I was basically the head of the second largest wastewater treatment plant in Michigan, down in Wyandotte, second only to the Detroit water and sewer system. During that time, we partnered with our member communities. We created something called the Joint Management Committee, where the mayors and supervisors of each of the 13 downriver communities met with me and my team monthly to help decide contracts, budget issues, and any spending over $25,000, which in a sewer system is a lot of money. So we were practicing transparency really before it became a buzzword. And when I went to the state, it was the state who really began to encourage local governments through their local municipal financing efforts to disclose and publicize a lot of their items on the web and through other forms of media. The other thing that I've done as well in my 6 years as state representative, I do hold monthly coffee hours as well. I do library hours, and certainly am available to meet with anybody one-on-one. I think I've lost count on how many individual meetings and group meetings that we've had over the years. But a lot of that also extends to how you run township government. We need to have what's known as study sessions. We need to have working meetings of the township board every week before the regular meeting occurs, so we can sit down and go through the agenda, so we can get our questions answered, so that we are doing so in a non-rushed, non-hurried manner, and that if we don't know the answer, we can find out. We've got a week to do it. That way, when we have our regular meeting, then when you show up, and you're certainly invited to all the meetings, don't get me wrong, but at the next business meeting, things can run a lot more smoothly. People know where the issues are. Things have been explained. And of course, my policy would be to televise everything, both study sessions and regular meetings in real time, and get them streaming on the internet as soon as possible, unedited.
What is your plan to resolve the dispute about legacy costs for firefighters between the city and the township?
Well, the current situation is being handled by attorneys. The township hired former Attorney General Mike Cox to represent the township in what hopefully will not become more protracted litigation and another regional fight between two neighboring communities. If I were supervisor, what I would do is I would tell the lawyers to go home, let's sit down, Let's break bread. Let's find out what the issues are. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's have full disclosure, talking about transparency. Let's talk about how much money is really at stake. How did that money get to be at issue? And how can we resolve it peacefully without paying more lawyers tens of thousands of dollars to do that? If need be, I'd agree to have it go to arbitration, where we have a third-party arbitrator resolve the disputes. But ultimately, this war of words and regional confrontation that exists between the city and the township has got to stop. It's a manifestation of so much of the tension and animosity that exists between our two communities. We are one Plymouth community. We need to act that way. Our relationship should be like the United States and Canada. Instead, we've become like the United States and Russia. And it's got to stop. It's time for something new. It's time to make a clean break, and we can do better.
All right, so on the legacy cost, let's start here. The legacy cost is when the fire department left in 2011 and left us with a bill of nearly $4 million. And when I became supervisor a year ago, I promised Mayor Dwyer that we wouldn't fight it in the press and we would work together to find a resolution. It took us a year. We went at it for about 6 months of them saying, we don't understand your numbers don't make sense, we're going to hire an actuary, we're not going to hire an actuary, we're going to review your numbers, we're not going to review your numbers, to where the frustration had built up with the board. And the board met, and the board decided that we were going to move forward with litigation if we couldn't come to a resolution. I called Mayor Dwyer and I said, Mayor, I regret to inform you this is what we're going to do because it's been over 4 years. For God's sake, we had to FOIA MERS to get the pension costs because you wouldn't give them to us. Gave the message to Mayor Dwyer. A week later, he called and he said, can we meet? We've been meeting on a regular basis ever since. It's me, Mayor Dwyer, their attorney, and our attorney. We were going to meet again tomorrow morning. We broke it down between pension costs and OPEB, retiree health care. Right now we're working on retiree health care. What did we agree to? We agreed to, in principle, the number they owe us for the last 4 years. The last 4 years alone is around $350,000 that the township has paid on behalf of the city. We also came up with a plan on how we move forward, that they reimburse the township for the retiree health care as we move forward. Once we get that agreement in place, we're going to move to pension. And we're really close. And that is through negotiations and meeting one-on-one. Taking all the personalities out, you have the 2 lawyers to make sure that you stick to the facts and to the issue, because this is a legal agreement. They violated the contract, section 11E, if you want to read the contract. We're trying to come up with a resolution, and we're doing it not in the paper, but one-on-one. Thank you.
Regarding talk of presumptive parole, can you explain why this is good or not good legislation?
Well, Arnie, with all due respect, I'm not really sure how this impacts life in township government. I know that I know some folks will differ on that. Let's talk about presumptive parole. You all received a flyer in the mail last week that painted me as some kind of crazed cop-killing, soft on crime sort of guy. That flyer was paid for by an organization called the Michigan Faith and Freedom Coalition, and that's I believe it's a 501c4 PAC, Political Action Committee. Since that flyer came out, I received a phone call from the National Faith and Freedom Coalition, which has denounced that flyer and sent me a letter to that effect. They actually support presumptive parole, and they support what I've been doing in Lansing on a variety of criminal justice reform issues, like human trafficking, like greater protections for victims of sexual and domestic violence, like rape kit legislation. As chairman of the House Criminal Justice Committee, we have addressed a variety of criminal law reforms, many of which are high priorities for the governor of Michigan. What this particular reform is going to do is reform our parole system so that people who are incarcerated have the incentive to be good prisoners and not better criminals while they're in prison, so that they will be scored on a different type of grading system, where they will be incentivized to perform well, to educate themselves, to behave while they're in prison, to not do drugs, to not get in fights, so that when they emerge from prison, that they will be able to re-enter society and not commit crimes again. The talk that this is violent prisoners or anything like that is poppycock. If you read the bill, if you take the time to study it, even if you read the letter from the National Faith and Freedom Coalition, they will tell you that this legislation is common sense, smart justice that we desperately need in Michigan today.
Presumptive parole is exactly what it says. You switch the onus from the prisoner to the state to presume that, to prove that the prisoner is reformed. You have to presume that they're already reformed. That's why Attorney General Bill Schuette opposes these bills. That's why Kim Worthy, Mike Bouchard, every law enforcement agency, Democrat and Republican, across the state oppose these bills. It doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, sheriffs, they all oppose these bills. And why? Because it's estimated that it's going to release over 2,000 prisoners. We've seen firsthand what happens when government ignores the lives at the end of the spreadsheet and they try to just save money. All we have to do is look an hour north up to Flint and see what happened there. Presumptive parole, how does it affect Plymouth Township? I don't know. What happens when 2,000 prisoners get out and they're running the streets? We talked about it earlier. Wayne County they're on the road to recovery. But how are they going to afford all the new parole officers? The jail is already, if you look at the county, the jail is where we're busting at the seams. We're losing money in the jail. Now we're going to add more parolee violators. If you want to know the effects of the bill, grab the paper and see how many times you see a violent crime in the news. And Representative can talk about how the governor supports it. I argue, name one law enforcement agency, one sheriff, one chief, one prosecutor, the attorney general, name one that supports it. Name one that supports, one law enforcement agency that supports his bill to do away with the 2-year mandatory with a felony with a handgun. We are the second safest community in the state because we put a priority on keeping our neighborhood safe. Presumptive parole does not do that. Thank you.
Mr. Heise, I do apologize for the last question. Being that the township has a police department, I just figured it was appropriate. So,
okay.
I do apologize.
This is more appropriate for a state rep debate, but that's okay.
No, because it's going to affect us here at the local level. It's going to affect us on
No, stick to your talking points, okay?
What do you think about the township's relationship with Plymouth Canton schools?
Who's first, this one, mine?
Me? Yeah, it's me. Plymouth Canton, okay. Plymouth Canton schools, wow. My family and I moved to Plymouth Township from Dearborn Heights for a variety of reasons. Frankly, first and foremost among them was because of our outstanding school district, and it doesn't really get the credit that they deserve, especially from the folks currently at Township Hall. The Plymouth Canton School District certainly has its share of challenges and financial challenges. I see some school board members past and present here tonight. And I want to make it very clear that you are one of the reasons why Plymouth Township is a great community, why we are attracting young families and folks who are interested in our great community. My children have received a fantastic quality education in the Plymouth Canton schools. My daughter Katie is now at Eastern Michigan University, and my daughter Claire is a junior at Salem High, and I think that they've received quality education. We need a supervisor and frankly an entire new township team that is going to partner with our school district, that is going to be able to sit down with them and explore ways that we can share resources in recreation, in parks, in trails, in outdoor activities, in simple things where we can partner together and save money and also provide a higher quality of service to our residents. And I would also include Canton Township in that regard because obviously they're a big player in the school district. We also need township board members and supervisors and other elected officials who speak well of our school district, who help to promote it. I've been on the Educational Excellence Foundation. That's the foundation board for the Plymouth Canton Schools since 2007. I ran for school board a long time ago as well. So I believe in our school districts and I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is and also to help fund important and innovative programs in our schools today to give money to teachers who have new ideas and new ways of teaching and new resources that they can bring to our kids. And I think that's the role that I want to maintain as township supervisor, but first and foremost, to make the school district a partner and an ally in making Plymouth Township better.